Cool. Hey there, Carif Youth. So what we're gonna start straight in, and we're gonna start with a couple would you rather questions.
Okay.
So, would you rather fight a duck-sized horse or 5 horse-sized ducks?
Duck-sized horses. You can just like belly flop on them and then they're done.
just stunt them all in one. Right, here's another. Would you rather have a wand from Harry Potter or a lightsaber from Star Wars?
Probably the one, because technically there's got to be a spell out there where I can just spawn a lightsaber. So.
True. Just quickly Accio lightsaber. Okay. Would you rather? This is sort of like a COVID-y one. Would you rather never be able to smell again or taste again?
Probably taste. No, smell. Smell.
I'm gonna say I would say
Taste
smell
is too
because
precious.
I like tasting my food what I eat. Right. Look, you lot in the chat as well. Also, say what would you rather have? Here's one. Would you rather have someone who loves Jesus but doesn't live out their life to their faith, or to mentor you, or have someone who loves Jesus and really lives it out?
Loves Jesus and really lives it out, you know? If you're going to go for
Yeah.
Jesus, go 100%.
Yeah, I'm gonna say if you have someone who loves Jesus and lives it out to the fullest, I would say it's more of a thing because you can learn from them
Yeah.
and just find it better. Right. What about the question? So what we're still doing with our culture nights is we're currently still looking at discipleship, and tonight we're going to be looking at mentoring. So I know you've got some questions, what we've sent over. So do you want to start?
Okay, number 1, how did you come to know Jesus and did you have a mentor?
So I grew up in church. So I've grown up in Cardiff. So I was over in K2 when I was like 2 and just went up with it. So sort of the people who like taught me over in K2, mentored me, but also when I was like in youth and I started going into youth, Jo Phillips was one of the main people who I sort of went to, and she didn't really become like my official mentor until I was 14. So I did, but I had the people around me sort of supporting me and helping who I could go to.
It's great. Okay, number 2, how did you? Oh no, what is a mentor?
So a mentor is basically someone you can go to who has, you could say someone who has, to explain it in my easiest way of doing it is for me, myself, I went to someone who was older than me. So I went to someone who was a couple of years older who had more life experience than me. And when I'm struggling, either if it was in my faith or even if it was in my personal life, I was like, I'm struggling. I need guidance in how to do this and how to get through it.
Yeah.
So having a mentor is someone who can just help you and just give you some pointers on how to do things. If it was like how to get through school, or even with your faith with Jesus, of like where to like read the Bible, or even like how to pray.
Okay, number 3. The greatest mentor we have is Jesus. How can you learn from him?
So from Jesus, I've always like, I would read the Bible. I was like, there's always great verses in the Bible where you can see where he lived his life. Like he lived his life to the fullest for what he could do. And there's always bits where he had hardships in his life and he got through it, and then he would help people who were going through hardships. So I always just read through it and see how he did, like praying and just going through it that way is how I would sort of say that one.
Okay, next. What's the best advice that you can give to someone who is trying to find Jesus?
My best advice, I love this question because it can go like one of two ways. Because it'd be like, my best advice is to sort of like if they're not already in church, like try and get them to church. So like even within life in Unleashed, like best thing is let them experience church. And because their view on church could be something very different. So like they could grow up with it church being really boring and it's already strict rules and I have to follow them one by one. But just getting them somewhere fun and somewhere where it's like they can feel comfortable to just to find them themselves, and also just to sort of help guide them and sort of go, if they have any questions, let them ask the questions. Because if they've never like been in a church before, they're going to have many questions in their head going, I have no idea what's going on here.
Yeah.
I need help. So it's sort of just like let them ask the questions no matter like how crazy they could be, because then they're going to go, right, because it's somewhere where they can feel safe to ask those questions, and it isn't like any question they ask isn't a stupid question, I always say.
Yeah.
Because you always just want to ask and go like, I don't know if it's going to be like a stupid question. I always just say ask it, just because you can have a laugh, and if it is sort of like a little bit silly, like you can have a laugh and then sort of go back to going like, but I can see how you see it that way. And it's also a thing of like get them to like look at the Bible, like they can just give them like small like verses to read and then go on to like chapters, and where they can just sort of like look at it themselves and go, okay, and then they could go to someone and then go, I have these questions about this verse, could you help me?
Yeah.
And it's sort of just praying as well.
Praying.
So what would you say of getting someone into church, Matilda?
Well, I love inviting people, especially to life. What's it called now? Youth. Especially to youth, because like it's just such a fun way to introduce someone to Jesus. Because a lot of the time people don't see this side, like that you can actually worship and have fun. And it's just great to invite people, and then we can have a bunch of fun, and then we can go experience Jesus. And sometimes it's for the first time for someone, which is great. That's how I do it. Okay, why do you think being mentored is so important?
So for me personally, being mentored is really important for me, because it was like when I was sort of when I was going like through stuff, especially in school, I was always stuck on like, who could I go to for help? Who could I go to for like wisdom, anything? And it's always having someone you can always just go talk to, I think is really good, because it's just like you don't feel so alone when you are having trouble, you are having hardships, even if it is in your faith or in personal. So it's just someone you can like go to, like they can be sort of like your rock. You can just lean on and go, I'm struggling and I do need help. So I think that's like that's why I think they're so important, just because they can help so much. Like I don't know where I would be today if I didn't have any of my mentors, because I probably wouldn't be doing what I do now. I'd probably still be a nervous wreck and not really talking to people. Because I was so quiet when I was younger. For me to do this now is sort of like the complete opposite.
Okay, what characteristics would you look for in a mentor?
I think what I would look for personally, someone who's like a bit older than me. So like they have more life experience than me. They could even be on like more of like a faith journey, more into their faith journey than me. And it would be someone, because they've experienced more, so they can sort of like, they have the experience to go, okay, I know where you're coming from. I've seen this before. Let's help you through it. And so like someone like that is who I see. Also someone who's kind and someone who is loving as well. Just because it's like you can have that person and they won't judge you. They won't see you any different to what you are.
That's very good. Ooh, any questions, drop them below.
Please do. So What would you look for in a mentor, Matilda?
Well, obviously Jesus, best mentor, but like
Yeah.
I don't know, they've got to be kind, of course. They've got
Yeah.
to know Jesus, they've got to have experience with Jesus. I would look more for someone who's got more experience with Jesus than what I have. Just someone that will like cares and someone that won't like make me feel dumb if I ask a question. Just someone good. Yeah.
So, we do sometimes get this. Yeah. I'm gonna say you can definitely have more than one mentor, because I know quite a few people who have multiple mentors. Me myself, I have two mentors, so it's like I can go to both of them for like different things if I need to, or just talk to them about the same thing, and see how they both view it. I would say it is important to listen to what they're saying, because what it is like they're trying to help you, and everything what they can say is like I would always take it into account of like you can add it to different parts of your life. So like if it's different situations you're in, you can add it in. I'm gonna say, what would you say for that one, Matilda?
Yeah. If they, well, yeah, 100%. If someone gives you good advice and they are your mentor, it's important to be able to trust your mentor 100%. If they say something that's out of line, like don't take everything that they say for absolute facts, but like definitely trust them. If you're gonna have a mentor, you've got to trust them.
Yeah, I think that's one of the main things with the mentor. You need, if you want to have that mentor relationship with them, you want to trust them with everything you say. So we always, I get this question quite a lot from like some people, is like, who could you mentor? And for me, I would say you could. I most of the time go for someone who's younger than me, because it's like they're still growing, and it's sort of like a thing of I want them to, if like whenever they need help, especially if it's like in their faith journey and they don't know what they're doing and they don't know where to go, it's always like I can go to them and go, I know I know where you are. I've sort of been in that situation, and it's sort of like I find it for myself to easier to connect with people who are younger than me. So, is it easy to find a mentor? For me, it was easy, just because my mentor is someone who I have sort of like, they've known me when I was little, and then when I grew older, we became a lot closer. So it was sort of like we had like a really good friendship before they were my mentor. So it was a good like 5 years before they even were my mentor. I was just like, we were really good friends. I came to them with some issues, and it was like we just sort of like went from there. And so, is there a certain age you should start mentoring? For myself, like I've just started mentoring a young person, and I'm 18. So but I have known people who have been mentoring when they were like 15, 16. But it's always when you feel it's right. If you want to mentor them and you feel like you can do it, go for it. It's great. I'm going to say, what would you say on that, Matilda?
Well, I would think age obviously is a good factor. Like, obviously, if you're like 9, you might not like know as much. But of course, like it's more about experience with the Holy Spirit and knowledge. But age, I would say about around sort of like 15-ish plus is a good age.
How do you know you have the right mentor? That is a really good question. I would say how I knew I had the right mentor for myself was I I had a lot of trust in them, and they also had a lot of trust in me, and I also like I highly respect them as well. So I would say if they respect you, to know if they're the right mentor for you, it's like you have that really good friendship, you trust them, and you have the right connection with them, and you trust them a lot. I would say they would be right for you. What would you say for that, Matilda?
Well, yeah, I personally don't have a mentor yet, so I haven't got like much experience. But yeah, you just gotta trust them. I think it's sort of something that you just know. If you know that they're not a good mentor, you just know that. Like I don't know, it's hard to explain. It's just you know.
Yeah, it could sort of.
You know if they
Yeah,
are right for you.
I can. I can see where you're getting. I can see where it is because it's like if they're telling you things what aren't exactly right and it could like put you in danger or something, I would say they're not the right mentor for you. But if it's someone that you trust, and sometimes it could be like you can argue with your mentor, because I've argued with my mentor enough, and it's like it's a normal thing to like disagree on things. So, like you can disagree with them, and it will be okay. It's okay. It's just sort of like, but if you know it's not going to be good, and it is going to become like quite toxic, I would say it wouldn't be right. So I've got one question. Who could you mentor? And I would say anyone. You could sort of mentor. I'm going to say for me, my personal choice, I would go for someone who is younger than me. Just because it's like, I have certain experiences where they might just start to go into them. But what would you say?
Well, yeah, it's obviously younger because sort of things like if you're trying to mentor them through, for example, you've done your GCSEs and they're going through their GCSEs and they're like really stressed with it. If you've been through that and you're older than them, then you can sort of help them through that through your experience. That's just like one of the many examples that you can just help them through different age problems if you've been that age, which is very useful.
Yeah, it's sort of like in the Bible there was two people that like one of them were a lot older, and they mentored someone who was a lot younger than them. It's just like they had different life experiences. Have you benefited from? I have definitely benefited from having a mentor because they got me through some really difficult times in my life when I was younger. Like I was always really quiet. I was really anxious, and I would never really want to get involved in anything. But having my mentor has sort of like, I'm doing this now. Like I'm talking, I'm doing live streams, I'm doing a lot with social media, where before I wouldn't be doing that. So it is sort of, they've helped me so much in my life, and I am very grateful for them. And so I would say a mentor for anyone can have one. It isn't like, no matter what you're also going through, anyone can have a mentor. Anyone, what age you are, you can have someone who is like 20 years older than you. As long as you trust them and you have a very good friendship with them, they could be really good. What would you say, Matilda?
Well, yeah, like obviously I haven't had one yet, so I don't really have much experience. So I don't know if I. My mentor has been Jesus.
Yeah.
Which is great, and I've benefited a lot from it, like so much that I got baptized. And yeah, it's been great.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I do know some people that don't have mentors, but they have had Jesus, and they have had just like their experience with Jesus has got them through like some difficult times. But in the Bible, you do have people like Abraham mentored Isaac, and because he was just having the hardships, and Abraham managed to help him through them. And you have all these different people who can help people. Also, with mentoring, technically, you don't have to mentor one on one. It can be like in a group. So when we do K Cruise and we do the alpha videos, that is also like your leaders are actually helping you, mentor you through them. So like the questions when we get asked in alpha, when we go to them and they can give us insight for what they have done. So it is sort of like you may not have a personal one-on-one mentor, but you do technically have us as youth leaders who are mentoring all you young people when we do alpha, and we just love seeing you grow. Any more? I would say, have you got any more questions, Matilda?
No, not really from me.
I'm going to say, is there any more questions in the chat you have on mentoring? I'll give you a couple minutes if anyone in the chat is currently typing. What would you say if you were beginnings?
Oh, confirmation.
Yeah.
The Catholic thing.
Okay. I'm going to say, Matilda, you're probably good with this one.
Well, in confirmation, for a mentor in the Catholic Church, you would normally have, I forgot what their name, I think they're called like supervisors or something, where they would just pray over you. So yeah, you tend to have one if you're doing a confirmation. At this church, personally, I don't believe we do confirmation.
No, not at this church. We do at this church with mentoring. I like with my friend. Like it was after I got baptized, they just went, "Could I mentor you?" And I was like, "Okay." It's not really like a thing you have to go through. I know with some churches it could be very different, but with us it's very much just no one really has to know if anyone's mentoring you. It's sort of just like a thing of like, oh, I have this person to go to if I need help. So guys, so we're currently just coming up to past, and I'm going to say we're probably going to call this a night, and the questions what you've given us are really good. Next week we have got, funny enough, K Cruise, where we are doing Alpha Session 6, I want to say. So we will put a Instagram post up next week on Tuesday saying where you'll all be, and it will be from the usual times we usually do it, so it will be from 7 to 9:30. So that's all from me. Matilda, anything else?
Yeah, nothing else.
Cool. I'll see you all next week.